Hey everyone, my name is chaoticwolph and welcome to a case of Distrust! You heard that sexy detective music? This is a game obviously about detective-ing, and it's based in the 1920s in San Francisco. We play a private investigator named Phyllis Cadence Malone. That name sounds pretty badass already. And I read somewhere that it's a bit literally like a part of it is like a bit like Ace Attorney. So I guess we get to do detective work and we get to go into court and be like guilty or whatever. But without further ramblings, let's start the game. Got my handy eyeglass thing here. What the heck is it called? Magnifying glass. I awoke in my desk chair. Did I click this? I awoke in my desk chair. Across from me were his piercing amber eyes. They surprised me at first, but I should have known he'd be there. I stretched and said, mid-yawn, "Not very nice to sneak into a sleeping woman's apartment," but his stare just continued. I laughed as glare. I cursed the open window. Open window? Did somebody sneak into your freaking house? I cursed the open window. I cursed the open window. Of course that's how he entered. I hoped to finally rest my eyes a while, but fate often disagrees with me. Oh, the knife. I knew I didn't have what he wanted. Reaching into my coat, I took out my knife and flicked it open. I gave him. Why would I give him the knife? I held the knife steady. I didn't know this was a knife situation. I held the knife steady while staring back at him. "Look," I said, nodding towards the desk. "That's all there is. Take it or leave it." But a detective knows when she's beat, and I knew then. He wanted to search the place, and that's what he would do. I sighed, knowing my weakness for his type. "Alright," I said. "Let's look." This is a very weird situation. Who are we talking to? Were we talking to a freaking cat? There's no need to bring your knife out. I mean, I guess if it's a stray cat. He let out a gleeful meow in victory. I cut a piece of my apple that the cat had rejected. Always a sore winner, I jabbed. But I was smiling too, because I was telling the truth. There was absolutely no other food in my apartment, because I'm a broke PI. The cat often dropped by to scavenge. He made a lot of noise when he thought I was holding out on him. But right now, the place was clean empty. No food anywhere. I had to prove it to him. How do I prove it to him? I have notes. Case summary: there were no cases just then, but the cat was mewing and needed attention. I had to contradict the cat by first talking to him, then pointing to a piece of evidence in my notebook that proved the apartment was empty of food. I think this is a tutorial. Goals: show the cat there's no food. No evidence and no statements. Can't believe I gotta prove to a cat that I have no food in my house. The cat had waltzed into my apartment a few years earlier. He kept coming back, though there was rarely a morsel to eat. He continued his loud meowing until I proved to him the place was empty of food. Talk to the cat? Really? Really? "It doesn't matter how doe-eyed you are, cutie pie. We've got no food around," I told him. "No food, cutie pie." It's a pretty cute cat, actually. A very handsome looking cat. He licked his chops and looked at me. Apparently, he still didn't believe that. I needed to contradict him somehow, to show him something in the apartment that would prove it was empty of food. Maybe I could just open my fridge. I guess I gotta get some evidence first. I went back to the apartment to search for clues that I could show to him. I feel like the best evidence is obviously my fridge, wherever the heck it is. What is this? I had taken copies of old murder cases from the SFPD records when I left. I'm a former cop. They always are. I love reading through them, even though my own contributions were minimal. At the time, I longed for those types of jobs. The truth was, any work was hard to find for a female detective. How come you're even allowed to take like case files when you leave? Seems like there should be some laws on that. That lamp had belonged to my uncle Louis. He'd been an SFPD officer. One who argued policewomen could be good detectives, even while others jeered at me. I knew he'd been right, but my current workload didn't help that claim. I thought about who's Louis? I thought about Louis. Oh, my uncle. Duh. I thought about Louis more often than I wanted. I was lousy at handling the emotions behind those thoughts. Was he murdered? I kept a small statue underneath the side table. It had been police evidence in a crime, and its owner hadn't wanted it back. I took a shine to it, so I snagged it for myself on my way out of the department. It seems like you did a lot of criminal stuff as you were leaving the department. A newspaper was flopped on the floor. Its headline about the death of Lenin, leader of the Red Menace, sweeping Russia. It seemed the Bolsheviks had lost their head. Quite literally too, maybe? My old notebook now filled to the brim. I wrote everything down, even the minor details. Never know what can be useful. So the first half had my old case, the second half had my let's look at the current case. The second half had my current bunk. Adultery cases, the only things I get hired to do. Whatever my findings, my employers often refused to believe me. It was thankless work, but even that was hard to come by. At least they paid, right? That's really all that matters. The regular white icebox, tinged yellow with age, half blocked the kitchen doorway. My income rarely kept much stock in it, and right now it was empty! What'd I tell you, kitty cat? The door to the outside world, and I left now, though the cat would start wailing so loud I get complaints from the neighbors. No, he needed convincing before I could leave. Well, let me convince you, kitty cat. My fridge is empty. My fridge is empty! Because you ate everything, probably. And I'm also a broke PI. Okay, what's my evidences? Papers. Icebox. The regular white icebox. Okay, yeah, use the contract because it was empty. It is empty right now. I opened the icebox so the cat could see inside. Empty, I told him. The cat looked quizzically at the open door, then back at me. No food here. Achievement. Sorry, fella. There's no grub in there for me either. He stared at me with eyes as disappointed as I felt. Those big yellows always got to my soul. Thoughts of my family filled my head. And my sister? My sister Muriel had sent a letter with an update of her life in Chicago. She and her husband had just purchased a new home outside the bluster of the city. Their 3 young children were looking forward to the move. I've never told Muriel, but those letters... the letters that she gave me? Kept me going? Gotta be positive. I never told Muriel, but okay, I read that. Oh, actually no, I've never told Muriel, but those letters kept me going. Hearing about my family, however remote, helped me cope with the isolation I was feeling. I refused to accept it myself back then. But perhaps Muriel had known anyway. My sister had the ordinary lifestyle that I had rejected. I wanted to change the world to save myself. Well, I feel like normally PIs are... well, it's like they're on two extremes. Either they're in it for the money, or they're like really passionate about solving personal, private crimes. Let's say I wanted to change the world. Let's think big. I wanted to change the world to bring justice for victims, especially the ones who no longer had a voice. Not that I was helping advance that cause with the types of cases coming my way, adultery cases. My mind spiraled into the usual series of questions. Had I even impacted the women's movement? Had I made any change on society at all? Was my plotting career worth losing traditional happiness? Well, maybe traditional happiness isn't for you. What was the point in the life I had chosen? There's a lot of stuff to think about while talking to a cat. A loud meow from the cat snapped my thoughts back into the moment. I took a deep breath and grinned back at him. Too bad we can't keep you, buddy. Guess you can scrap now, I said. Nobody's going to come knocking with food for you, fella. Yeah, because we're broke PI. Whoa. Loud knocking. There immediately came a banging on the front door. Beyond a nuisance, this cat was psychic too. You order out? I ask him. You're so funny, detective. Open the door. Oh, that's cool. That's a neat effect. In the doorway was the regrettably familiar face of Connor Green. He is very green. Who is this guy? I stared at him. I looked past him. His company churned in my stomach. I don't think I like this guy. Let's find out more about why I don't like him. His company churned in my stomach. It might have been his bergamot perfume, which hung around my nostrils like a lingering unwanted guest, or that sordid smile which was forever plastered on his face. His super grit. Look at this smirk, man. Such a douchebag. He stared at me through the doorway with a coy smile. Well, ain't you gonna invite me inside? I don't know you, dude. Why would I let you in? I started closing the door. But he stuck out a foot to stop me. Hey now, he chided. Foul way to treat a customer, Malone. So that was his angle, hiring me as a detective. I wonder what a bootlegger would need with a private eye, but he answered without my prompt. A bootlegger? So he makes like pirated stuff? I'll make this quick. I can't take this to the hog house, or the pigs will laugh me out, and other dicks just aren't as tempting. His grin widened. Thought this was gonna be quick, I said, and started rolling a cigarette. Rolling a cigarette? Am I legit rolling my own cigarette? It wasn't quick, and I already rolled and lighted a second smoke when Green finally finished his story. As you're a fast smoker. I noted the important bits in my book. Which are what? Ooh. I really like all the graphic effects in this game. So cool. It had started with a letter slipped under his door in a white envelope. The envelope contained a single typewritten leaf, which he handed to me. It read, "End your game, or we'll end you." It had no signature, instead ending with only a small scribble in the bottom right corner that resembled a black hand. What does that mean? Is this important? That's why it's highlighted in white? Green had a lead on a new rum running scheme, a connection from Vancouver. He'd given a sample to Tiny Paul, the gangster who ran the Tin Spoon speakeasy for mob boss Jerry Ferry. Jerry Ferry. Oh, what a name. They agreed to buy him for more. Green surmised the letter was about his rum running. Bootlegger? As in delivering illegal goods? Okay, I went totally different direction of bootlegger. They agreed to buy him for more. Green surmised the letter was about his rum running. Okay, he suspected Redstone Stable, another bootlegger, of sending the letter. He told me that Stable ran a barber shop during the day and gave me the address. So am I accepting this gig? Green needed to know who the threat was from. He'd get Paul's gang to deal with them and continue his scheme to get rich. If I go snooping myself, he concluded, folks see I'm not trusting people. No trust leads to no customers. I need to play it low key, which is where you come in. I raised an eyebrow and stared at him through the cigarette smoke. Something in his yarn was still twisted. He must have noticed my reticence, because he said, I worked closely with Lewis. I'm sure he wants to protect me as much as any other victim. Don't you bring my uncle into this? But back up, dude. My uncle. Lewis put me on the force. I finally accepted Lewis' death. I'm still searching for answers. Well, I personally am searching for answers. I was still searching for answers. My uncle, I was still searching for answers after his death. He'd been a man obsessed with helping victims and bringing justice to those beyond salvation. With that ethos, I never understood how he could have taken his own life. Ooh, conspiracy. Those thoughts haunted me. I quit the SFPD and started my own practice, taking his philosophy. Was Green worth my time? Would he be worth Lewis? I don't know, man. Green had tipped off my uncle in a few cases. I wonder if that was enough to warrant my protection. Before I could think past my headache, he threw a bill in my lap. Hey, dude, this ain't a strip club. And what kind of bill did you draw me? Was it a $100 bill? Keep the C note as a retainer with a C note. And don't worry about getting in touch. I'll find you later for a chat. This guy is so sleazy. He turned down the hallway and I let him go. If he was willing to give me $100 with no commitment, $100. Okay, I guess I can forgive you. With no commitment, I wouldn't stop him. Free money. Gotta get that free money. I turned back to the apartment, still confused about the whole story. My headache wasn't helping either. Whenever I lacked clarity, a trip to Southern Coffee was usually the cure. Ooh. So I need to leave the house now? I mounted a gold plate on the outside that read, P.C. Malone, Private Investigator. Cool, let's leave. There was only one place I needed to go to clear my head, Southern Coffee. Southern Coffee was a basement dive. It wasn't modern, hip, or ever busy, and it was my favorite place to down some paint, especially in the company of the best bartender in the city. So it's not a coffee place? I flagged the taxicab and was on my way. I thought about chatting with the driver to pass the time. I guess let's talk. What's going on the down low? Let me know, taxi driver. We talked about the weather and not much else. Sometimes taxi cab drivers made poor conversation partners. Well, I was hoping he had some tips for me. Southern Coffee was an automat diner. Ethel Burgess, the lone waitress, was friendly to help with any inquiry. Of course, if you winked at her right, she showed you the way to the downstairs toilet, where Frankie played bathroom attendant. What? What? Is that some kind of weird metaphor or something? I don't know. Southern Coffee had the distinct feeling of home. The familiar smell of mold in that old basement was enough to put a grin on my face, because apparently I love mold. Frankie had a bond with that old shaker at the end of the bar. I was surprised he hadn't named it. He could sling a mean drink, though he only used the good liquor if he liked you. Frankie liked me. Hell yeah, he liked me. I grabbed the wine bottle on the bar and examined its label. It featured a picture of grapes and the words, Sacramental use only. Frankie looked at me with a spark in his eye. Go ahead, he said. Give it a swig. I guess if you're insisting, Frankie. I grabbed the half-empty glass that had been next to the bottle and swirled some of its contents between my gums. Gross. A bit spicy, ain't it? Frankie asked. I mean, it's good, I nodded, I guess. I'm a good drinker, I guess. It's good, I nodded, and gulped the rest down. It'll cost you too. Oh dude, don't you know I'm broke? He said with a smile, and he grabbed the bottle from me, turning it through his hands. Rabbis charge more than a nickel for this beauty. Only this type of Napa wine is made from that Zinfandel grape. It has a unique aroma. I've been trying to learn more about wine. Seemed everyone knew their stuff but me. I noted what Frankie had said about the origin of the grape as he sat the bottle back on the bar. Since when do you know grapes, man? Since when do you know grapes? I chided. Frankie let out a belly laugh. Some of these grapes are older than you, Malone, and I've known about them since I was a small tot. Like a tater tot? It's why I'm so good at my job, you know? Frankie sighed. Too bad more folks can't taste them. That woman's league is the devil. That woman's league? What that mean, yo? The Women's Christian Temperance. The Women's Christian Temperance Union was now under feminist Frances Willard, a positive force for the suffrage of women. But her staunch support of prohibition, along with the union's massive political clout, irked the very wet San Franciscan public, and she particularly wasn't popular with bartenders, well, because she's against drinks. Take a seat, he said. I'll make you something else. Pitcher? Big fella who's a fantastic orator. So storyteller, I guess. He was a fantastic orator, but knew when to be a good ear too. For my money, there hasn't ever been, nor will there ever be, a more loyal barman. We all need a loyal barman. I sat at the bar. You got the spooks, PC? He asked. You're worn as a catcher's mitt. I suppose my exhaustion showed. I want $100 for nothing, and I can't let it go. I told Frankie about the case, the threatening letter sent to Connor Green, how he assumed it was related to his bootlegging, and his suspicion of Redstone Stable. The story took longer than I wanted, Frankie showing genuine interest by asking many questions. Why are you asking so many questions, Frankie? When I finished, he threw me the whiskey sour he'd been stirring. I took a large gulp and gave a sigh as thanks. Well, Green's case is better than most of what you're given, he said with some enthusiasm. At least it's not more of that adultery bunk. Oh, you know it, Frankie. Sure, I replied, but I started with a goal in mind. What's the point in helping a man like Green? Frankie clicked his tongue on his teeth. Lawyer or priest? Why does it matter? Let me ask you, are the clients you have now the types you want to help? Well, they're all committing adultery, so probably not. I refuse to admit they're perfect clients. Okay, no. I admitted they weren't the best, I guess. I admitted they weren't. I told him that I wanted more for my detecting life. It could be that Green's case shoots your career forward, Malone. I sighed and stared down at my drink. But my daze was interrupted by the basement door opening, then slamming shut. Who's being so goddamn rude? A small, blustering woman began marching towards me. She was younger than who? I'm gonna say she was wearing a light blue cloche hat with a gray ribbon. I just know she looks very angry right now. Tilted back on her head, a scarf of similar blue drape around her neck, but I was startled by what she wore under it. A gray trench coat that looked too large for her frame. It was exactly like the one that had belonged to Lewis. What's this mean? It's his ex-wife, maybe? She hurled insults at me a while. All I could do was sit and take it until she ran out of gas and started breathing heavily. I set my drink on the bar and looked her in the eyes. I studied her features more thoroughly. It was plain she was a knockout. Now that she finished shrieking, beyond the latest blush and lipstick, she had the natural soft skin and bright eyes perpetually desired by the opposite sex. While I was eyeing her, she caught her breath and restarted her tirade. I'm the wife of that bum who sneaks into your bed. Ugh. Say what, lady? The cat? Well, she's probably not gonna answer my question because she's being all, angry right now. I asked, the cat? I asked the cat, but the humor wasn't her angle, and she launched into another poetic stanza. And he just left your sty this morning, she finally ended. And that was when I gathered she was Connor Green's wife. Nobody is sleeping with your, shady-ass husband. Okay, Mr. Legend, and that's again Green's wife. Mrs. Green, I'm a PI, not a homewrecker, and I don't think your husband in his line of business would want to bet a dick anyhow. You're such a dick. Her look was pure incredulity. Okay, whatever. A woman in that line of work, she questioned. I don't believe it. Prove it? How do you prove you're a PI? Anybody could say they're a PI. Oh, I actually had to give proof, dude. That is wild, dude. Statement. I guess I can talk about this stuff. Got a threatening letter. New bootlegging scheme. Maybe I shouldn't be telling her about her husband's, crime stuff. Got a threatening letter. Show it to her. I told her about why Connor had come to me, the bootlegging and the threats. You see, Mrs. Green, this is what I do. There's not much more I can show you to prove it. It still took more coaxing for her to believe me, but eventually she came around. She seemed grateful I explained it to her. Apparently, she had seen her husband leave my apartment, and distraught, she had followed me all the way to Frankie's basement and decided to confront me. Maybe confront your cheating husband if he was cheating. I suppose I lost my head after what I thought I'd seen, she said, and she began to cry. Frankie, ever chivalrous to a dimpled girl, came around the bar and held her up. Now that's alright, Mrs. Green. Why don't I hail you a cab and send you on back home? She agreed, and they walked together up the stairs. Okay, that was weird. When Frankie returned, I said to him, You turned night really quick. He snorted a laugh. Oh hell, we can't have that siren in here. With a torture yelling like that, every street bugger will come to her rescue. Okay. Mrs. Green is a torch singer. Well, I learned she was Mrs. Connor Green just now, when she came in here. I only seen her as little Fanny singing lead for the jazz band at the Tin Spoon. The Tin Spoon, I said. Tiny Paul's joint? That's where Green is selling his liquor. Say, you think that's where she met her husband? I laughed. You're the real sleuth, Frankie. He made a sarcastic bow. Yeah, Frankie's my confidant. I shook my head. You're telling me you escorted our little torture out just to avoid a bit of hot water? Frankie flushed and said, what are you talking about, Malone? I was never good with emotions, but it was plain that Frankie had instantly fallen for the girl. What the hell, Frankie? She came in here yelling and you fallen for her? Or did you fall for her when she was singing? Because there are some questions about that. So what if I had more to squeeze out of her, I asked? What more could you possibly want from little Fanny? She can't have anything to do with Green's mess. Oh, how do you know she's married to that dude? I'll contradict you, Frankie. Damn, I have to prove everything. I have to provide evidence for every single thing that I say. I can't believe I have to back up everything I say. Well, yeah, I would say considering she follows her husband, she probably knows what's going on. Mrs. Green followed her husband to my place, I said. Why would she do that? Frankie rolled his eyes. PC, if you were Green's wife, would you trust him with anything? I'm sure he's always up to something. I shrugged and stood up from the bar stool. What has just happened was quite the ruckus. It seemed like my cue to move along, and this is my cue to end things here. Oh, this game is kind of hilarious. It's like it's like your PI is like some kind of sort of sarcastic, but not really. These PIs are always kind of like that. They always like have this like negative outlook towards life, probably because they've seen all kinds of crap just because they're PI. So it seems like the major running theme of this game is gonna be our Uncle Lewis's death, which might have been a murder, although they said it was a suicide. But since we brought it up, there must be something more to that. So it might be that as we go along and solve these mundane cases, we might come across more evidence that would prove that perhaps Uncle Lewis's death was not as simple as it was. I mean, I guess it just started us with Green's case when he like knew Lewis. So that's probably gonna come into play. So for now, we have only been introduced to Green's wife, and Frankie. I don't know if they're gonna be helping us with our thing or not, but I guess we'll be moving around the city and getting to learn a little bit more about what is going on here. Seems like we're just a small fry detective. So it seems like this game plays like a visual novel, kind of. And it seems like every time you say something, you're gonna have to back it up with evidence. So I guess we better talk more, find out more, so we can properly back up our statements. But in any case, I will leave this here. So thank you guys so much for checking this video out. Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next video.